Good afternoon and welcome to the ISF Virtual Congress 2021. My name is Francine Sayok with the International Seed Federation, coming to you from a studio in Switzerland. Thank you for joining us and for keeping the conversation going on topics that are essential not only to the seed sector, but also beyond. Resilience. What does it mean? How can seed play a role in resilient food systems today and tomorrow? In the next 3 days, we will have a series of panel discussions with business leaders, experts, and partners. We will also have an exciting showcase of innovations from seed companies. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsors for the event, our main sponsor, Syngenta Seed Care, our day sponsors, BASF and Corteva, and all the others who made this event possible, Reichswan, Semillas Fito, Incotec, Qualisense, and Kimbria. I would also like to recognize our media partners, Seed News, Seed World, Seed Today, Profita, and Cultivar, and our partners from the World Benchmarking Alliance and Iowa State University who are taking part in the exciting program we have for you. Do join the discussions through the live chat and send your questions for the Q&A. We want to hear your thoughts and we want you to be part of the dialogue. On social media, use hashtag ISF Virtual 2021 and hashtag Journey to Resilience. All right, to open the Congress and to tell us about ISF's engagement to support global seed supply and innovation, I'm pleased to introduce the President of ISF, joining us from Australia, Donald Coles. Hi, Donald.
Hello, and to all those seed sector delegates and all those who are not directly involved in working in the seed sector, welcome to the World Seed Congress 2021. We have an exciting, engaging program for you, particularly about resilience. I'm speaking to you all the way from Victoria down in Australia. To anybody outside the seed sector or agriculture, seed looks like a small and rather unremarkable product, but it's fundamental to life on this planet. Almost all living things on the earth rely on seed for their very survival. Seed does not just contain the germ of life, however, but a library of evolutionary history going back around 800 million years. For plant breeders, seed is a treasure trove of information and opportunity. There are some that have thought a little bit more about seed too, like George Bernard Shaw. His quote is, "I think of the fierce energy concentrated in an acorn. You bury it in the ground and it explodes into an oak. Bury a sheep and nothing happens but decay." But there's much more to seed than just that. In fact, humans have thought about eternal life for some time, but seed has that capacity. It has the ability to go dormant for not just a few years, but tens of thousands of years. Seed can retain, sustain, and even revive life for most animals on the planet. The work of all the seed sector is therefore critical for life on this planet. The ISF is the organisation involved in all aspects of which seed is traded, maintained and informed. Around 8,000 seed organisations are represented by over 60 membership countries throughout the globe. So ISF is indeed the global voice of seed. Our vision is a world where the best quality seed is accessible to all, supporting sustainable agriculture and food security. A newly developed series of 5 strategic objectives underpin this vision, and this illustrates the critical role played by our members in supporting global food security. But I have to say, there can be no more noble career than that in seed. We regularly talk about the things we represent and indeed what we do, but we rarely talk about the contribution and indeed what we've achieved. So if you ran a bit of a scorecard, at least over the last few years, let's talk about that. Reduced pesticide spraying by 8.6% between 1996 and 2018, which is equivalent to more than 1.6 times China's total crop protection product use each year. major reductions in tillage and fuel use, resulting in a decrease in greenhouse gas emissions equivalent in 2018 to removing over 15 million cars from the roads. Over the past 22 years, yields have increased by an average of 16.5% for corn and 13.7% for cotton. Farmers would have needed to plant an additional 8.1 million hectares of corn and 3.1 million hectares of cotton just to maintain global food production. But let's talk about farm incomes. Out of 147 studies, it was found the chemical use declined by 37%, yields increased by 22%, and farmers' profits increased by 68%. In India, importantly, insect-resistant cotton adopted by vulnerable households earning less than $2 a day, their incomes increased by 134%. Maize farmers in the Philippines had a mean income increase of 50%. And all this is just from advances in biotechnology in the areas it was used. While the seed sector enables production of food, it also supports animal production, including domestic pet food, fibre for manufacturing clothing, reforestation, timber, trees, shrubs, lawn, and seed for gardens and recreational activities that support the environment and human health. ISF has been actively involved in the UN Food Systems Summit, which amongst many other activities has also listed carbon sequestration as a vital activity to support food production systems. We are therefore now being asked to solve one of mankind's most intractable problems, climate change. The way we will do this is by using seed to create plants with a root system that can absorb excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. We're all well equipped to take on this challenge, though, I'm pleased to say. Throughout the pandemic, people in the seed sector have improvised in order to keep seed moving and food flowing. During the lockdown, people have really had to think about the basics of life, in particular, how much food they need to survive. Many have even established gardens for the first time. Demand for vegetable seeds has increased, but transport slowed down. Despite this, very few shortages appeared. An example of making do with shortages when they did occur came from our World Seed Congress speaker, Rumiso Mashambi, a farmer in Zimbabwe. She was telling us recently that she couldn't get the normal stuff expected to buy, so she was forced to buy what probably was birdseed sunflowers from the supermarket just to keep her community in sunflowers. During a visit I made to Chile, to see a seed producer, Eriko Kulmar, I found a large team of workers hand sorting black seed contamination from barley. Eriko explained to me that the black seed was the same size as the barley seed, so he couldn't withdraw it mechanically. Despite this, his customer wasn't prepared to pay for the labour, but Eriko did it anyway because the quality of the seed was more important to him than the profit. So let's turn to the bigger challenge of carbon sequestration. Our plant breeder, Anthony Ledden in Australia, has created a new hybrid phalaris which holds the potential to double the organic matter and therefore carbon sequestration in what is a very drought-tolerant perennial grass. But these are just some of the stories, there are thousands of them, that plant breeders have performed all throughout the globe. And our aim, of course, is not just to sustain food supply, but also to meet the other challenges ahead of us. So in summary, seed is vital for life. Part of the evolutionary process, however, is the human interaction with plants and seed. It's therefore vital for plant breeders to continue the work at pace to overcome the challenges ahead. So I'm sure you will enjoy the rest of the conference on resilience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Donald. Indeed, the work of all those involved in the seed sector is so critical, and not even the pandemic could stop them from keeping seed moving around the world and helping ensure that farmers have their choice of seed to grow. At this time, we would like to talk about the main theme of this Congress, resilience. You will hear this a lot in the next 3 days. So to tell us the private seed sector's role in building resilient food systems, I would like to invite ISF Secretary General Michael Keller.
Thank you so much, Francine. Wonderful to be here with all of you. I warmly welcome you from our studio. I think today our topic about food systems and seed resilience is starting. Our journey to resilience starts with seed. But I think you are asking yourself a lot, why is ISF putting a topic like resilience on the agenda? And I think the more important thing is, what means resilience? Resilience means our capacity and adaptability to withstand difficult situations in a sustainable way. And look, from where we are coming. Donald mentioned it just in his talk. COVID-19. COVID-19 could have had a serious impact on food supply around the world. And I think in a joint cooperation together, we overcame the situation. However, we need to notice, still 200 million more people have hunger today than a year back. And I think this is important to have in mind. Second, look where we are today in overall food production. Since 50 years, we have 120% more people in the world. We have only 10% more land used for agriculture. However, we were able to feed. That means productivity increase. And there I come to the point, ISF, International Seed Federation. We need to speak about this tiny seed because things are starting. There's a big impact. There's a big effect on food and nutrition security thanks to seed. When you are looking in current discussions or in general, or also like Donald mentioned it, seed has a tremendous impact on our productivity. Recent studies showed in Europe, in the European Union, 75% of productivity increased since the millennium is coming from seed. You see this impact, and World Bank in a report some years back told us the most important input in agricultural production is coming from seed. We are not saying it's the only input, but many people, many studies are showing, like Donald mentioned, it's the most critical input in seed. Is seed to food production. Now you could ask you why I'm saying this, why I'm trying to bridge between seed and food security or food resilience. We are here in the year of the Food Systems Summit 21. Last year, UN Secretary General Guterres called for a summit. There was an urgency to discuss together on systems. When I'm saying systems, it's not a discussion about describing what are we doing. It's rather sitting together to find what are our shared values when we are speaking about food systems. You need to understand also there are different scales of food systems: community, indigenous, local, regional, national, international food systems. Different scales have different needs. However, we need to find the shared values. And I think we can all agree what is important: healthy, nutritious, but also more efficient and sustainable production to reach food systems. And I think this is the question today. Where are our shared values? And let me bridge this, because everybody is agreeing this is only one part. To do what? To reach the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. It's essential, because 9 years. Look, as seed people, we would say 9 years can be 18 harvests. Can be a little bit more, because in tropical, subtropical areas, you have several harvests in a year. That means, let's say 20 harvests to go to reach Sustainable Development Goals. It is now. We have to reach them by our discussions and agreements today. And as a seed sector, the private seed sector took a strong stand some months back. We made a seed declaration. It is not only to showcase what we are doing, and Donald mentioned it nicely. There are many things today when it comes up ending hunger, we need yield increase. Or when you think on all the discussions about nutrition, yes, many things can start with the sea. Look, high oleic peanuts, high oleic sunflowers, but also questions around food waste, shelf life of plants. You see, many things yet today are happening, and Donald, one point he's made always is carbon sequestration. Yeah, cover crops. That means we wanted to showcase yet what we are doing. We do not need to start from scratch. But I think what is more important is we wanted to build engagement. We wanted to build commitment from our side that to reach sustainable development goals. Seed is important, and what the private sector is doing can be a contribution, and we are looking for this cooperation to reach it. And now I'm coming to an important point, which I need to highlight today. It is about the question of seed resilience. Seed resilience. And this is what we are saying our objective. We would like to lift our engagement even further. And again, seed resilience cannot be only delivered by the private sector. No, there is public sector, public breeding. There are lots of things happening also at the community side, also from NGOs, foundations, public research institutes. All together, I think we have one objective, which is resilience. That means food resilience should start with our capacity together to build seed resilience. And allow me to read it, because it's an essential engagement we would like to take together with you. It's the adaptability, and capacity to contribute to food and nutrition security by making accessible, sufficient, diverse, the diversity is important, locally adapted, improved, high-quality varieties to all farmers from the northern and southern hemisphere, taking into account environmental, health, and socio-economic aspects. Many points you see in the discussions we have currently on food systems, or we are having with regard to the SDGs, are mentioned here. The diversity of crops, the capacity also what we are doing day in, day out, the whole year, locally adapted varieties for the farmers, but also building the access. But to move in this direction, there are some needs. And I think this is also important that we can agree on these needs, that we overcome sometimes this difficulty to build the right dialogue also about seed and seed resilience. First, we all agree continued genetic progress is needed because there is a reality to produce more on less land with less impact on environment, climate, soil. Donald mentions carbon sequestration, big important goal, but also increased nutritional aspects. At the same time, and when you look, those who are involved in the United Food Systems Summit, incentivizing innovation, science innovation is recognized. But we need to encourage it more, diversify, and protect also breeding. I think this is essential for us, that we can engage also on further crops. And the third point, that's critical. We need to have a common understanding, international organizations, national governments, NGOs, private sector, on sustainable seed systems. We need to lift the debate. It should not be an opposition between current seed systems existing. We need to think on one seed system. There can be different layers for community seed systems, informal seed systems, or others. But we need to think about one sustainable seed system, adapted for each country in any case. And don't forget, seed trade is essential. There's no country independent. You will hear it during the next days about the importance of seed supply. We need to diversify and increase seed supply. And we need to create markets, and this can leverage experience existing on the ground. And don't forget, the farmers are in the heart of our work, day in, day out. We need to support them, also to build markets, to understand market needs. And there are topics today about also transparency, value chain, traceability. but also markets when we are introducing improved varieties can be in the Southern Hemisphere. I think this is our joint endeavor. These are the needs we should discuss together. And for this, we are taking today a couple of initiatives. And again, we are not the only solution provider. We only can succeed together. But I think it's time now to move ahead. We need to initiate a partnership based on experience and knowledge, not on opposition, not on thinking, I have the solution, not you. No, we need to think, what are the experiences of the last 40, 50, 60 years? What is our current knowledge? We need to set up also a dialogue based on data, how we can build, how we can strengthen sustainable seed systems. As I mentioned, we need to decide today, because we are only 20 harvests away to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. You know, seed is taking time. An improved variety is taking many years. We need to decide it now to be ready tomorrow. And therefore, we think also it would be important that we build joint flagship project in a country with partners, governments, international institutes, NGOs, to focus on an inclusiveness to build sustainable seed system and best practices. Yes, we need to find ways also to inform on the added value of improved varieties. And allow me, just by concluding also here, just some days back, we organized an independent dialogue with the World Farmers Organization on improved varieties. And there was a tremendous search, and farmers are looking to have access. But there are many questions we need to address to allow this access to improved varieties. You see, full agenda. We need to act now. And therefore, today our call is, we maintain not only our responsibility to contribute to achieve Sustainable Development Goals, we are committing even further to seed resilience. Together, we will succeed. And let us hope that the pre-summit and summit of the Food System Summit will allow us to move further in the same direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And now we'd like to invite some questions from the audience. Please use the live chat to type in your questions for the speakers or any comments you'd like to share. We would very much like to hear from you. I'll start the Q&A. Michael, the pandemic has caused us to miss already 2 in-person congresses in the last 2 years, compelling us to shift to a virtual medium. In today's world where there are tons of virtual events happening at every turn, what makes this virtual Congress unique, and what can our participants look forward to?
Thanks so much, Francine. I would never say that we do more or better than others. We just to try to find our way. And allow me, you remember those who were yet here with us last year, we had the first virtual Congress. We learned a lot during this virtual Congress. And throughout the year, we built also a new World Seed channel with webinars to build engagement. Because I think the important one, why we ended up also today here in the studio with you, is not only about communication. It's not only about connection with you. No, it's to build cooperation. And I think this was somehow the setup and the experience we had in recent months. We need to go further. We cannot stand still today. The world is moving. We have to move. And therefore, we said, let's try the studio. Let's try to engage with you in a new way to cooperate.
Thanks, Michael. I'd like quickly to recognize all the people who are joining us from around the world. Please send your questions to the live chat. This next question is for you, Donald. Under your term as ISF president, we renewed the key strategic objectives for the association for the next 5 years. How does today's theme of resilience connect to the overall objectives of ISF?
Thank you. That's a very important question, because the 5 key strategic objectives are all about underpinning the basics of what we all do, and that's supporting science. But it's not just about science. It's letting our plant breeders act in a way which can enable us to support nature. We're just here to give nature a helping hand. At the end of the day, the environment and the needs of the population and the animals throughout the world really are fundamental. So all of our key strategic objectives are aimed at that. So we've got a long road to hoe here, but we're putting down some really key undertakings for the whole of the global seed industry to ensure that we can not only continue to supply seed, but do it nutritional seed that's clean, that's free of diseases, and that is available to all, especially in developing countries.
Thanks, Donald. Michael, at the start of the year, we launched a seed sector declaration that was signed by hundreds of seed companies and associations. And at the same time, our event today comes just a few weeks before the UN Food Systems pre-summit. Can you tell us what else are the upcoming events for ISF and its members during the next months?
If I would make an advertisement, I would say ISF never sleeps. And because it's also reality, our members are coming from around the world. But I think, let me narrow down only on this year. As we mentioned, in 3 weeks, we will have a pre-summit hybrid event in Rome, Food Systems Summit. And I'm very proud also to inform here our audience. We are one out of the 10 private sector speakers during this event. All the governments will be present. I think that's yet a recognition for us. That's the first step on our way to the Systems Summit in New York in September, October. Our members are engaged more and more also in national dialogues and regional dialogues. I think we need to continue. We need to inform. We need to explain. But there's a second thing, which is extremely important this year. And Donald mentioned it in his introduction, climate change. Yeah, there is the Climate Change Conference in November in Glasgow. And here also with partners, the climate makers, with World Farmers Organization, we will engage, we will be present there. We will deliver not only what we are doing, but also we will show our commitment to go further during this important event. And I think I'm very happy also to inform our audience today, in November, early November, FAO called for a conference, which is called the Green Development for the Seed Industry. We are a partner of this conference, and we would like to contribute to this conference, because also here, private sector, civil society, governments, international organizations, we will sit here together. And I hope this will allow us to discuss further our pathway to seed resilience. You see, Francine, a lot of things will happen this year. ISF will not sleep in the future, and I'm very happy now that we start our virtual conference.
Thanks, Michael. That seems a lot to look forward to. We have time for just one more question, and I'd like to ask this to Donald. The beauty of this virtual event is the diversity that we can expect from our audience. Because it's virtual, it allows us to reach beyond our membership. To someone who is just getting acquainted with the seed sector or maybe unfamiliar with what we do and how we work, what is the most important thing you want people to take away and to remember about the seed sector?
Oh, now there's so many important things about the seed sector, and I have to say, for a young person joining seed sector as a career, there is multiple disciplines which you can learn along the way. Knowing, of course, that, as I said before, you couldn't get much more noble career than one in seed. But everything from producing seed to breeding seed to processing to transport, the administration, sales, everything. There's a whole team of people that surround themselves in order to achieve the delivery of seed. There's a massive supply chain here. But most importantly, I have to say that really seed organisations wrap themselves around a plant breeder. They exist for the purpose of delivering for the plant breeder. Plant breeders are central to everything we do in order to deliver on not just our sustainable development goals, but the globe's. And for us, the seed sector, plant breeders are in it for life. It is a very long career. And I have to say, all of the plant breeders that I've met, there's one very important qualification they have, and that is that they are thoroughly decent people. So what a nice thing to be able to say about an industry as large as ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald, and thank you, Michael, for joining me today. We have a very exciting program during the next 3 days of the Congress, so you have a lot to look forward to. Right after this, we will have our keynote speaker, Mr. Peter Bacher of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. After that, we have our first panel on the UN Food System Summit and the many roles of seed. That is followed by the premiere of a podcast hosted by BASF called The Science Behind Your Salad. And to cap off today's program, we will be joined by the World Benchmarking Alliance for a session on transformational change from farm to fork. Tomorrow, we will start with a panel on international seed trade and COVID-19 with a keynote presentation by the OECD. Then we have our friends from Kimbria hosting a session to introduce the first plug-and-play processing plant. Do check that out. Then we have panel 3 on addressing emerging pests and diseases, where we will be joined by representatives of the private seed sector, government, and the academe. That will be followed by a panel discussion on the business outlook of the seed sector in Brazil, hosted by our media partner, Seed News. Then we have our main sponsor, Syngenta, Seed Care, joining us here in the studio for a session called Celebrating the Past, Innovating for the Future. And to continue with the showcase of innovations, we have another sponsor, Qualisense, presenting us their technology in a session called More Data, Better Seed with Q-Sorter Technology. And finally, on Wednesday, we start the day with our media partner, Seed Today, hosting a session on gene editing regulation and global policy update. Afterwards, we have our friends from Corteva joining us here in the studio to talk about the future of food and ag, transparency, open innovation, and sustainability. Then, a keynote presentation from a senior counselor of the World Trade Organization. This is followed by a very interesting panel with business leaders on the future of the seed business. Don't miss that one. Our friends from Iowa State University are doing a film showing of Seeds, the Diversity of Wonder. And then, finally, our media partner, Seed World, is hosting a session on communicating about seed and science. As you see, we have packed these 3 days with great content for you. It's going to be a real marketplace of ideas, so do stick with us. We have lots of good stuff in store. And now I turn you over to Claire.